Now, the South African Communist Party says it will continue to support the ANC as an alliance member and will also keep a close eye on the DA. Spokesperson Dr. Alex Mashilo says unemployment and inequality need to be addressed urgently. He was speaking on the sidelines of the second day of the ANC-NEC's lekgotla in Boksburg, where alliance partners will make presentations today.
I am sure that our General Secretary, in presenting the message from the South African Communist Party, will engage with the content from some of the presentations. However, without looking forward, without losing focus from our original message that we brought to this lekgotla. Look, from 1996, unemployment in South Africa went above 20%. It has since worsened. It never returned to 20%, not to mention any level below that. During the elections, particularly in the first quarter of 2024, unemployment by expanded definition, including both active and discouraged work seekers, affected 12.1 million South Africans. Hang on, unemployment goes hand in hand with poverty, and it is also an expression of the high levels of inequality. This is the context under which the ANC, in terms of the material conditions of the people, went from above 50% to 40%. There were politics, both in South Africa and abroad. But what is important to the SACP, over and above engaging with those politics, are the material conditions of the people. Because unless we raise the standards of living of the people, unless we make the South African people happy and embrace the ANC-led government, the ANC may see a further decline.
Now, the ANC has blamed tribalism and the rise of the MK party for its declining support. The party hopes, it says, that the lekgotla will have to map a way forward to revive it before the next elections. Let's bring in political analyst Thobani Zikalala. It's great to have you with us this afternoon to give us a sense, Thobani, of whether you think these statements by the ANC, the reflections on its election performance, and the real shunning by a large portion of the electorate in the May elections, whether this review by the ANC was inward-looking enough.
Good afternoon, Michelle, and good afternoon to your listeners. I think the ANC must learn, and I don't think the ANC has learned over the years. Every time the ANC faces a setback or a political setback like the electoral outcomes of the 2024 national general elections, it seems to want to point fingers outside of itself, right, of how and where the problem started from. But it does not maybe have an honest reflection about itself and how it has managed the states of South Africa since 1994, in the 30 years of the democratic dispensation, and how some of its political actions, its policies, and how it has conducted itself as a governing party may have impacted on how the electorate then views them. I mean, even the idea that parties like the MK were the trigger that made the ANC to be able to be in a position where it loses support. Even that idea, even as much as how plausible it may be, but the ANC must reflect and say what it is about the MK or the emergence of the MK that made the people of South Africa to see it as an alternative or as an option outside of the ANC. And it's because maybe the ANC itself has not really in many aspects, I mean, in issues of maybe the management of the South African economy and how the South African economy benefits the majority of the South Africans, it has not been able to do that and do that meaningfully as maybe the people of South Africa have expected. And this is why political parties like the MK, the EFF, and others who have broken away from the ANC have found the fertile ground to be able for their message to be heard. And the ANC must, yes, it's good to point out those who have contributed to you losing support, but also you must also ask yourself what is about yourself that has opened up space for these political parties to be able to do what they've done. And of course make you lose elections, as you said. So I think there's a very disconnect with reality that the ANC faces. The ANC must face reality. Its neoliberal program of running the state has resulted to where it is. The ANC must reflect and really take serious policy positions that take the people of South Africa in a possibility that says the economy belongs to us, it benefits us, the state is ours, we are a nation that lives in this particular territory and we are benefiting. Because the idea of even particularities, I mean, the raising of issues like tribalism or not called, even the idea of how particularities like that manage to find themselves as prominent, it is because the South African country or state has not been built to a nation where everyone can have one identity that they hold on to, and because of that, everyone will always find their own particularity that they can hold on to. So the ANC must also reflect on that, and that in the quest of building a nation that they've claimed to be on since 1994, have they been able to build one united South Africa, or because of how they manage the state, they've made the particularities to be much more open, to be much more seen by everyone, where you see that if you are black, you are poor, if you are white, you are rich, you live in Sandton, if you are black, you live in Alexandra, and
Thobani,
things like that. All those particularities.
I mean, it's ironic, right, that the party's head of elections, Mdumiseni Ntuli, also says that he believes, the party believes, and what came out of the ANC-NEC meeting was that there is a perception that the ANC doesn't know how to regain its credibility because it doesn't learn from its mistakes. So he says that perception exists in society. And I wonder whether the ANC has the maturity, even at this late stage of the game and of its lifespan, to say that there's a perception and surely there must be some truth to it.
I think one of the things that the ANC must maybe face reality on is that ANC, in how it has operated in the past few years, of course in its 112 history, is that it has not in the past few years come out as people who carry new ideas, who carry new energy of doing things. This is why maybe the ANC, in many instances where it has lost power, it has not been able to regain it. Because one, the ANC does not know how to behave and do politics outside of itself being a governing party, which also explains how it was so interested in making sure that it recalibrates power through the GNU process, because it has built its political identity in the past 30 years as a governing party, and it cannot phantom or cannot create a situation where it operates as an opposition party, where it can be able to regain power and regain credibility of the people. The second part of it is that the ANC, in terms of its politics, can no longer, in some instances, resonate with the majority of the country, and they must be very realistic with this. And the third part of it is that the ANC, in many instances where it has been pointed to have done wrong, or where people of South Africa have said, we have done wrong here, maybe punish it through vote, the ANC has not come out in a humble manner to say, we acknowledge that you have criticized us, you have criticized the state that we have built, we aim to do better in doing 1, 2, 3 better. The ANC always come out bullish in a way that says, everyone is wrong other than itself. Even the idea of pointing out tribalism, MK, EFF, and all these other things, it seems to suggest that the ANC is saying everyone else was wrong. Jacob Zuma was wrong to break away. Julius Malema was wrong to break away. People were wrong to vote on tribal lines, and all these things that are being mentioned. But there's no way where the ANC acknowledges its own role in its own demise. And this is one of the reasons why, in provinces like the Western Cape, it has not been able to regain support, because of the idea that it has been unable to operate from a terrain of being outside of government, and to acknowledge its own mistakes and pitfalls, to be able to rebuild itself out of that. And I think if they continue in this trajectory that they've built for themselves, 2029 may be even far worse. I mean, the predictions about the ANC losing its support and going into a coalition government were not yesterday. I mean, even 5 years ago, the idea of a coalition government in 2024 in South Africa was already being predicted. I mean, many political analysts and many researchers have spoken about this, but the ANC seems to not be able to respond to that research. I mean, it's dismissed some of the research as unrealistic and what to call. But today, it acts as if they were never warned of the idea that they will lose power. And in fact, they even not have seem to have learned from other liberation movements who have struggled to hold on to power past the two decades of power. And these are all the realities which maybe tells me that the ANC has not learned from its mistakes, and the ANC may not learn from its mistake, because how it continues to diagnose the problem is always outside of itself and always looking at other people who may create a situation. The last point would be the ANC must also realize that it's not an ordained political party to govern South Africa, that it governs South Africa on the purpose of the goodwill it enjoys the people of South Africa. When that goodwill declines, they will lose power. So what they should be focused on is how they continue to service that goodwill so that they are able to maintain power. They can't maintain power if they do things each and every day that make people question the goodwill that they've given them.
Certainly. You're in power for a 5-year mandate, right? And once that mandate expires, we'll either vote for you or not for you. Thobani Zikalala, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. Political analyst joining us there as the ANC's lekgotla continues today until tomorrow. Alliance partners, I believe, will be making their presentations in Boksburg today.